Hi everyone, I'm Brita Fletcher, and I am pleased to talk to you today. It'll be a short period of time, and so I will be putting this slideshow in your child's Google Classroom if you would like to finish watching it. And you can see on this screen that it's color coded, so you don't necessarily have to look through other classes' information. This will be about Advanced English 1, Advanced Floral Design, and Floral Design. And 7 minutes is not enough time to talk about all of those classes individually. And so I will just give you some general information about how I run my classes and what that's like. So this is my contact information. Email is definitely the fastest and easiest way to get a hold of me. This is just my background. I shared this with your children, and I just like people to know where I'm coming from as a teacher. I have a family. I have a husband, Darren, and two children, Jack and Paige, and they are teenagers, and so I feel your pain in terms of distance learning. My kids are distance learning as well, so that I think that gives me a good perspective about what this is like to be a parent at home working with your children as they go through school this way, as well as just raising teenagers in general. I tell my kids here at school, remember that high school and your hairstyle are not forever. Thank you for being an involved parent and for taking the time to take a look at this information today. My involvement here at school is that I am the advisor for Ponderosa FFA Floral, for Pondo Plants, and for Hands for Hope, which is a community service organization. I have some online learning goals this fall. One is to keep our classes rigorous. I don't want this to be a throwaway fall, a throwaway year for them in terms of their education. But I also understand that I need to keep their education accessible and rigorous as we're doing that. I want to communicate well, connect kids to me as their teacher and to each other. And as I get to know technology better, I will be better at that overall. And then lastly, get students away from the screen when possible. And so you may be seeing your child do some creative projects for me, or they might be writing by hand or reading a paper book instead of reading online. And that's all intentional, because I'm not sure it's healthy for our kids to always be looking at a screen. Even though we have the capability to do that, I'm not sure that's really the best idea this fall. So that's why I'm mixing in some of those other activities and assignments. This is a slide that just explains where things can be found. I have created a personal meeting Zoom link, and so it's like a classroom door. Anytime your child needs to Zoom with me, they will always use that same link, and it is posted at the top of the stream in Google Classroom. One of the things that's very different about teaching online is the idea of work and homework. So whereas before I may have put a lot of information and material into the time we had together and then a small amount into what they did on their own, that's really flipped when we're doing online teaching. And so it would help if we all reinforced that Mondays are not days off and that classes might not run the whole period, but that's because I am ending class so that they can get started on a project or an assignment on their own. I can still be there online. And so if they get started working and they have trouble or they want independent help, they could Zoom back in and talk to me about it. But if we end class early, that is why, because I want them to be able to get started on what they need to do independently. In general, I think we'll run the whole hour though each time. If your child is upset, worried, stressed, overwhelmed, this is way too much work, I am going to guess that maybe they procrastinated. That's a teenage trait. Our teenagers do that for the most part. I don't generally give one night homework and say you have to do this tonight and bring it back the next time we meet. And if I do that, it is a manageable amount of work. And so if they're way behind, it might be a scheduling issue, and I'm happy to help them manage their time and work with them on that if they need some help. I do accept late work with penalties, and if you have technology issues, just let me know. My schedule is linked here, so you'll be able to see that if you pull this up in Google Classroom. And of course, I can meet with your child one-on-one to help them. You do not need to be teachers as parents. I get it. You have jobs, you have lives to manage. I can teach your child. It's just we need to coordinate how will that happen. And so please don't hesitate to reach out if your child is struggling. Assessments online are very different. I'm going to do very few online quizzes or tests, so very few quizzes and tests in general, because they can look up information anywhere. Written work will be run through turnitin.com, which is a plagiarism program to check and make sure that's their own writing. But there are lots of other ways to assess, and so I'll be giving projects, writing, slideshows, drawings, creative work, maybe presentations, all kinds of ways for your child to prove they understand. I do want to emphasize that live spoken online participation is required as an assessment for me to know if your child is understanding what's happening in our class. They are going to have to participate when we Zoom. And so my expectation is once a week. If your child is lying down, getting a snack, looking away during the meeting for a long period of time, like they're actually doing something else, sitting in a dark room, I can't see their face, those are all very difficult ways for us to communicate online. So I'll be looking for them to be more engaged than that, and I'll do my best to be entertaining and make that happen. My general expectations for students are that they are patient during this time in the fall, that they are present, they communicate, they are respectful, and that they do their best. And I will do all of those things in return for them. All right, so at this point, it switches to individual information about classes. And so you can take a look at this in Google Classroom. And then please let me know if you have questions as you're going through it, or if there's anything specific I can answer. Thank you again for joining me.